Hope you're all doing well today because, unfortunately, as you all most likely know at this point, Akira Toriyama has passed away. I want to talk about what Akira Toriyama's work, mostly the Dragon Ball series, meant to me. I would love to do a video on his life and work, but I've got a lot of work I need to do myself. That also means this video will have little editing. There are also already really good videos out there that do deep dives into his life. I'm mostly just going to go over the influence Akira Toriyama's work had on me. I heard from quite a lot of other YouTubers say they used to watch anime on a TV station called Toonami. I've actually never heard of this TV station. I can't speak for all Canadians, but as far as I know, we didn't have this TV station Toonami. We watched most of our cartoons and anime on a station called YTV. We did have Fox Kids, then later a station called Teletoon, but on basic cable, I watched Dragon Ball on YTV. It was the first anime I ever saw. Somewhere I said it was Pokemon was my first, but I remembered after it was actually Dragon Ball was my first anime I ever watched. When I watched Dragon Ball, there was nothing like it on TV. It was truly a show that had amazing adventures and great characters at the time. Sure, there were other great shows at the time, like Transformers, Batman the Animated Series, and X-Men. I don't think Spider-Man the Animated Series was out yet. Most cartoons had this formula of showing an episode of a show, but the next episode will continue on as if the previous episode never happened. You can especially notice this in shows like The Simpsons, Family Guy, that sort of thing. They didn't feel like a significant progression and didn't feel like a big adventure. I get why they had that formula. It was a time and money saving thing, but Dragon Ball constantly progressed with something new and new locations. It felt like you were on this adventure with Goku and his friends searching for the Dragon Balls. I remember at the time a lot of Dragon Ball's humor was censored on YTV, so I didn't know about certain scenes until years later. Something I've been trying to figure out for years is why did YTV end the Dragon Ball series when Goku transformed into the giant ape? His tail gets cut off, then the show ends and goes back on repeats. After the repeats, the show was done on YTV, so I thought the show was done. That was it. Little did I know I actually missed so much more. I missed out on Krillin, Tien, Chaozu, Yajirobe, Korin, Mr. Popo, and Kami. I missed out on the tournaments, Piccolo Saga, the Red Ribbon Army Saga, and Goku's wedding. Thanks YTV, you fuck. So I couldn't watch those episodes until after I finished Dragon Ball Z. The only characters I knew about at the time were Goku, Bulma, Oolong, Yamcha, Puar, Master Roshi, Chi-Chi, the Ox King, not really a character, but Goku's flying Nimbus, and then of course his bow staff. For the antagonists, the only one that was being shown was Pilaf, Shu, and Mai. After that, that was it for a long while. After Dragon Ball, I had seen toys and games of Dragon Ball Z, but I had no idea what these characters were. I had no context. So get this. One day I'm at Blockbuster when I was checking out the games. I saw a copy of the Dragon Ball GT, not Z, GT for the PS1. On the cover, it looked like Goku, but as an adult, so I rented it. When I played it, the only character I knew was Kid Goku. There were no Dragon Ball characters. I didn't know who Vegeta was, who Trunks was, Gohan, Frieza, Cell, Majin Buu, and Baby were. I didn't even know who Piccolo was. The series on YTV didn't get that far. I also didn't know why there were the same character but with yellow hair. I didn't know what a Super Saiyan was at the time. During the gameplay, I didn't know why the characters were flying either. Eventually, I got used to the controls and I enjoyed the game. At some point later when Dragon Ball Z came out, and man, that changed everything. The show was action, testosterone-fueled greatness. Great start for the Saiyan saga. Goku's son Gohan was an out-of-nowhere shock for me. The fight with Goku and Piccolo fighting Raditz was like nothing I had ever seen. I never understood at the time why Piccolo hated Goku so much. Later in the series, Gohan transforming into the giant ape brought me back to my Dragon Ball nostalgic memories. I'd say the Saiyan Saga is my favorite in the series. It was so cool seeing all the characters I knew and wanted to know fighting together. The whole Saiyan Saga was such an intense cliffhanger after another. It was shocking seeing the characters I knew and other characters I was getting to know during their training were dying one after the other. I had never seen anything like that in a show at the time. That's when I knew shit was getting real. The whole Saiyan Saga was so intense. After, as the show went on, I had a rough idea how the show and its lore works. It still had intense twists that kept me hooked. After that moment with the spirit bomb being used on Frieza, but he was still alive, then there was that moment that changed everything. Goku changes into the Super Saiyan for the first time. Immediately, I recognized that that was the Goku that had yellow hair in the Dragon Ball GT game. Pretty much then on, I was recognizing more characters I had seen from that Dragon Ball GT game. I loved the Dragon Ball series so much, it got me into drawing like Akira Toriyama's style for a long time. My drawing skills at the time, of course, were really rough when I was in elementary and high school. I was applying Toriyama style into everything else as well. I remember I made my own Dragon Ball comic. Goku had to track down these power stones similar to the Dragon Balls, but they didn't grant wishes. They gave the main villain of my comic more power. The more stones he collected, the more powers of the natural elements of Earth he can control. Looking back at it now, it was dog doo-doo. I never ended up finishing it. I also made a Resident Evil comic that continued after Code Veronica using Toriyama style. Then I realized drawing in detail was taking too long, so the comic was devolving into stick figures. Dragon Ball Z is also what got me into wanting to work out. I wanted to work out just like Goku and Vegeta. The biggest problem was I had no instructions on how to work out. I could only copy what I saw from movies and TV of just lifting barbells and dumbbells. I had no idea what I was doing. It wasn't until years later I slowly understood how to properly work out. I haven't been working out as much as I should now. I should get back into it more. I saw a few episodes of Dragon Blue. I was excited when I saw it was in Toriyama's style, so I wanted to give it a chance. Unfortunately, as the show went on, it wasn't really for me. I did though bought and played Chrono Trigger when it was on PS1, and man, I loved that game. I mean, I still do. I saw here is something in Toriyama's style, and it's actually a great RPG game. Speaking of RPGs, I never had the chance to play any of the Dragon Quest games. I wanted to, but they were always on Nintendo platforms, so I never really got into them. It wasn't until Dragon Quest the Show, the remake in 2020, that I saw Dragon Quest for the first time. That show also took me by surprise. The show was actually pretty good. More and more as time went on, my tastes have been changing and expanding. However, my love for the Dragon Ball series will always be there, so I was excited when Dragon Ball Super came out. Super brought me back when there hasn't been any Dragon Ball TV content for a long while. I can't think of any part of the Dragon Ball series I hate off the top of my head, but there are sagas I do like more than others. As I said before, the Saiyan Saga is my favorite in the series. When I was drawing Dragon Ball Z characters, it made me want to continue drawing, so I stuck with it, and I wanted to try to make a career out of it. Akira Toriyama's Dragon Ball series having a big impact on my life is an understatement. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to make this video. Thank you for all the hard work, effort, and impact you put into your creations you made, Akira Toriyama.